Folks, we are thankful for so much, the important things, and for football. We hope you are as well. We've got the wholesome one here, and we are thankful for him and all that he does for us here on the Hurricanes channel here at the Voice of College Football. Please settle in for the next 60. Bring those comments and questions on Miami football. Wholesome one, how you doing tonight? Happy
I'm
Thanksgiving.
doing well. I'm doing well. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. You also, Mark, you and your lovely, amazing family. For those of you all that celebrate or not celebrate, let's choose to be thankful for what God has brought us this year and today. Because life isn't promised, and we just want to be thankful for those who made it to today because everybody did. So let's put a smile on our face and let's be happy, baby.
Wholesome one, I especially appreciate this week with all your travel plans and with everything else going on in your life that you made time for us. So thank you so much for that. We appreciate it.
Of course, of course.
So, yeah, Thanksgiving's about football in addition to the important things that we cite. And Miami's got its final regular season game coming up this Saturday. And the Canes have to win this one against the Pitt Panthers to get to that bowl eligible status, get those extra practices, and for whatever it means, depends on the fan in terms of the bowl game itself and winning a bowl game. So where do you stand on all of that and the importance of getting to postseason play, getting to a bowl game?
Bowl games are uber important, man, and not just about getting to the actual game itself, but also those 15 to 16 extra practices, extra weightlifting, extra time to build camaraderie with the young men and amongst themselves. Now, Miami's had a bunch of turmoil, figuring themselves out, blowout losses left and right, some close wins, a nice blowout win against Georgia Tech, but for the most part, the season has been an utter disappointment. But this is something where it's on senior night. It's a night 8 p.m. kickoff game. More likely than not, Miami's going to pull out their 3.0 Miami Knights black and orange and green neon uniforms. And it's a great way to have a senior class that's been through a lot of ups and downs. This senior class was class of 2018 because a lot of them decided to come back for their fifth year. So this senior class has gone through Mark Richt to start with, Manny Diaz halfway through, and the last year of Mario Cristobal, and there's been a bunch of ups and downs. And when they put pen to paper, Miami was coming off of a 10-3 season, followed up by a 9-4 season, so they were expecting to bring the U back. And unfortunately, things didn't really work out in that way for them. And some guys will be, it's sad to say out loud, but some people will be so happy to see them go. And other people, they've had some times where they may not have been the best players like a Will Mallory, but they've never done anything off the field, and they give their hardest and they try their hardest, and they're guys that will look back on their time at Miami and the ups and downs, and will think fondly of who they were as people, maybe not just what they did on the football field. So getting to these bowl games they're big for the future, and we're playing a lot of freshmen and sophomore guys that weren't playing before. So this is another opportunity to get them chances in the snap count and get them an opportunity to play. Guys that were thinking about hopping in a portal or not, this could be an opportunity where they can get a chance to get some reps and practice and maybe even get some play in the bowl game, because a 6-6 Miami is good enough to get an invite to, the Belk Bowl, Central Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, and get a chance to hopefully win that game. But the most important thing is continuing to get those extra practices. And you can't take those for granted. You cannot take them for granted. Miami's been to a bowl game, 4 times in the last 10 years? And they've won, one? That was against West Virginia. But those extra practices has always helped us. And it's something that we have taken for granted at Miami, but other programs don't, because they understand the importance of them.
Did I hear you say Miami's only been to 4 bowl games in the last 10 years?
Am I off on that? We couldn't go in 12. We went 13, 14, 15. Oh, yeah, we've gone to more than that.
Yeah, 16, 17, 18. Yeah,
yeah,
etc.
right.
19, 21. Anyway, 20. So we found out earlier today, so defensive back Jalen Harrell entered the transfer portal. He was a top 250 player coming out of high school. And now we are looking at 5 Miami players who have entered the transfer portal. We've got including Gilbert Frierson, Elijah Roberts, Thad Franklin, Alan Hay, any particular thoughts about their decisions and the level of loss there?
We also want to add one more that just hit the port. I got a text message just now. Keyshawn Washington, 6'3" safety, 210, 12 pounds, 6'3" safety out of South Dade. That's been at Miami forever and hasn't got an opportunity. So it's been a lot of back and forthness on these young men. Gilbert Frierson, someone I picked as my team MVP coming off of our COVID 2020 season because I thought he played that well, that consistently on defense. One of the best highlight tapes I ever made, one of my favorite highlight tapes to make, and a guy I felt like that was really coming on. 2021 comes around and you see his snaps go down, and he got pushed to the back of the line for his senior and Amari Carter, and a lot of us were very upset about that. Then you get into 2022, and he's in battling back and forth with James Williams, who is one of the better defensive players on our entire team. So I'm happy that in his situation, and sorry about that, Mark. In almost all of their situations, these young men have taken it upon themselves to take their future into their hands. And some people aren't very happy with that. They look at it like you're quitting, you're giving up. And in some instances, based on the information that is out there, I think it's fair to say that about some young men. But Coach Mario Cristobal has been very open in saying, if you and your young man, you and your son don't feel happy here, come pick him up. You're more than welcome to take him to another institution. So, in all fairness, it's not like you're lying to the young man. You're promising him this stuff just to keep him around, just to keep him as a number, and then don't play him. With the transfer portal, some people don't like it. I can see both sides of it and think that it puts the power in the hands of the player where they can go out and change their own history. Because for a long time, like we talked about before, Mark, ad nauseum, if you want to transfer, it was looked at as such a bad thing. And you didn't have a coach to back you up because they would just badmouth you. And then other coaches would only trust the coach's word, not the player, and not talk and not, help you get to another institution. So a lot of them had to go down to FCS and HBCUs and D2s and things of that nature to play. But now you can go from Miami to Arizona State. You can go from Miami to Pitt. You go from Miami to, West Virginia if you choose. So, and I really hope that these young men that do hit the portal don't just listen to what coaches are saying because you're basically getting re-recruited all over again. Do extensive research into the way that they use their players, whatever schemes that they play, and make sure that you pick an institution that you fit their way of playing football.
Wholesome one, did you happen to see the video that went viral from Eli Drinkwitz, the Missouri head coach? This was maybe a day or two ago.
Absolutely.
And he spoke to that exact situation. And I thought he had a lot of good things to say. The reposts or the retweets that I saw on it were very complimentary. Mm-hmm. However, I do want to say that while there is a ton of truth in what he had to say, like you, I think we're on the same page here. I can't, as somebody on the outside, point to every transfer and say, well, you gave up. You gave up and you're a quitter and you're looking for the grass to be greener somewhere else and, you need to stick it out. I think there is something to that depending on the case, but every case, every individual, every situation is different.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%, Mark. There may be some times where based on and I look at it from a Miami perspective, there's times where the University of Miami had to bring in certain players just because they're a big body from South Florida, or have to bring in a young man because they needed numbers at a defensive back or needed numbers at wide receiver. And that young man never is going to get playing time at Miami. How is that fair to him? This happens not just at Miami. It happens at Florida. It happens in Tallahassee. It happens in Georgia. It happens in some of our best players have been what, Mark? Transfers. So it works both ways. So you can't necessarily say it's all one way or the other. Some of our best players, Jalen Phillips, didn't sign to Miami coming out of high school. Light-skinned warrior Bubba Bolden didn't sign to Miami coming out of high school. De'Aaron King didn't sign to Miami. These are some of our best players in recent history that weren't originally Miami Hurricanes. KJ Osborne from Buffalo, who's playing for the Vikings as we speak right now in a Sunday night game, repping the U. You have to look at it from both sides. And that's why I say I really think that this gives the power to the young man. Now, are there instances where it could feel a little personal as a fan. You get upset. You tweet something out there, sure. But you have to look at it from the perspective that you're hoping that this young man and his family or guardians have really looked at this situation, have had conversations with the coaches, and maybe Miami just isn't the best place for that young man anymore. And those things do happen. You wish him the best of luck, and you move on with your life. That's simple.
The Wholesome Ones here help folks each and every Thursday night. The Voice of College Football on the Miami channel. Please consider any show or display of appreciation, whether that's gotta at least like the video, click the like button, share the videos out on social media, subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. Get on over to the Wholesome Ones channel, Wholesome One Holloway right here on YouTube. Subscribe there and consider a super chat contribution as well. So, Wholesome One, you, of course, watched the breakdown and I should say watched the game and broke down the film on Miami and Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see anything that really surprised you there?
No. No, going into that week, and I've kind of been not necessarily down, but I mean, I'm always going to pick Miami, as you see every week. I'm going to always pick them, regardless if I know what's about to come, and I understand that. Mark, I will say this. At the beginning of the year, I, just like a lot of other Miami Hurricanes fans, we had our chest down. We were very boastful and picking 10-2, and we're going to the ACC championship. But a harsh reality settled in that the way that we wanted to play offense, the way that we want to play defense, and the way that this team is currently constructed was not fitting together. And it just wasn't clicking. It wasn't meshing. And some people told me that I overreacted even after the Bethune-Cookman game. And we won 70 to whatever. But as I'm watching that game, I'm like, it doesn't look fluid. It doesn't look aggressive. It doesn't look like they went after this team and destroyed this team. That team drove the ball. That team had over 350 yards of total offense. This doesn't look right. And the next week comes and Southern Miss, I mean, they go straight down the field and score on us out of, on their opener. At halftime, it's only 10-7. Middle Tennessee State happens. Texas A&M happens. And find out Texas A&M is not a good freaking football team. But their biggest win of the year was Miami. To a certain extent, they may get LSU on Saturday, but I'm not going to let my pick out there yet. But as the season went on, Mark, and we got close to games where I thought I knew would be losses at the beginning. I said it'd either be Pitt or North Carolina, but I think Clemson is just that far ahead of us. And we got to that game, and I'm like, they're going to get us, and they're going to get us bad. Even though we're coming off of the Georgia Tech win, we scored a bunch of points. We got a new freshman quarterback. New Save Me Baby Jesus freshman quarterback out there doing this thing. It just didn't. Clemson was doing all right. They even had just got blown out by Notre Dame. We're going into Death Valley, 39-0. It just, everything wasn't fitting as far as the fact that I felt like Miami could actually win this game. I was hoping Miami could keep it close, and they did. Halfway through that fourth quarter, it's 23-3. Now, they scored 2 extra touchdowns, and Dabo Swinney is throwing the ball and running his offense and running the score up with 3 minutes left in the game that he had handled. But can you be upset about it? No. Miami's done that countless times when Miami was rolling. When you have the better team, and even your backups are somewhat better than the young men that's across from the other team's first team guys, you let them go out there and get their snaps and run the offense just like you would the first teamers. So I saw that game, I broke down the game, and we are not there yet. Again, you want to argue talent and star system? Yes, I understand Miami had a horrific season, and I've accepted that. But the power spread version that they want to run, the 4-2-5 man defense that they've wanted to run at Miami, it got on the football field, and turns out those two things just had not worked for Miami, and we got exploited countless times this season.
Wholesome, when you said even watching the opener against Bethune-Cookman, which if you don't have any coaching experience, for somebody like me that's just played at a certain level and just watched a ton, but, comes nowhere close to that kind of expertise in that way, I would I would allow my eyes to trick me against that level of opponent and think there's no way I can make this evaluation. I got to see them play somebody that's in their talent class.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was going to be my next question, was going to be, at what point in the season did you have to readjust your mindset, your expectations, how you view this team, and kind of adjust and say, okay, we're not what we thought we were, or what I thought we were going to be. And was it as soon as Bethune-Cookman, or was there maybe a week or 2 or 3 later that it really hit you that, okay, we need to slow the roll, we're not anywhere close to where we thought we might be?
I would say initially, I'm going to stick to my Bethune-Cookman evaluation because this was an opportunity. Yes, scoreboard wise, it looked like a blowout, but there were also times where it didn't sit right with me. But of course, I'm going to give it another opportunity. And the same thing happened with Southern Miss, and it just didn't look. And of course, me being a Mario Cristobal fan and an Oregon fan, at times growing up, I would watch them, and I'm like, God, this man loves these close games. He just doesn't blow teams. He doesn't destroy bad teams. He just wins by 10 or 17, but, to some people, a win's a win. But we got on that field with A&M, Mark, and it really just was like, then the score is close, but it doesn't look like, we were running the wall very well, Mark, but at one point, Tyler Van Dyke was 3 of 12 passing the football. We were like we hadn't even practiced passing the ball at all. We couldn't hit deep routes. Our route combinations were a bit off, and the only way we were really able to move the ball passing-wise was on wide receiver screens. And then we followed that up with the appearance of Middle Tennessee State, and that's when it really hit kind of rock bottom for me. But the weird part is you come off the bye and you play one of the better teams in your conference, the best team in your division for the last couple of years, in the Tar Heels of North Carolina. You play them to a 3-point game. And when you had the ball to go down and either kick the game-tying field goal or score the game-winning touchdown, and you had them, and you somehow lose that game also. So it's been such an up and down, but when it was down, you get blowout losses to Tallahassee, blowout losses to Middle Tennessee State, fumbling the bag literally fumbling against North Carolina, looking outclassed towards the end of the game against Clemson. So it's again, trained eye, regular eye, just a fan eye. There were plenty of opportunities this season. Some of us saw it a little sooner, where it was like, again, we're not developing, we're not calling players or running a scheme that fits our young men, and it feels like we're kind of being a little bit more of a, we're going to run this ball, and I don't care what you think kind of offense, and that's not what we had recruited to. For the last 3 years, we had recruited to the spread under Coach Rhett Lashley and Coach Manny Diaz. So, again, unfortunate. Uber excited that we have an opportunity on Saturday to make a bowl, because there are plenty of times where you watched us play and you're like, I don't even know if this team is good enough to go to a damn bowl game. But preseason accolades, star rating, you're thinking this is a top 15 team. Maybe that 9-3, at worst 8-4, at best 10-2 kind of team. And you're going, Coach Cristobal and Tyler put it together. Josh Gaddis is who they say he is. And things worked out. Kevin Steele in the defense, and Charlie Strong, and Jason Taylor, and Ed Reed, and it's going, it's booming, and that's not at all what we got this season. Not saying throw in the bag, not saying burn your orange and green, but you have to understand where we are, and that this season just kind of fell apart on us.
Wholesome one. Have you had a chance? I know that you've been busy. Had a chance to see Pitt on film?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What are your impressions of the Panthers? I know, of course, the offense starts with Israel Abanikanda, one of the top rushers in the nation.
Absolutely. Israel is one of the best rushers. Their offensive line is an older offensive line, a lot of RS next to their names, meaning red shirt, juniors and seniors. Every starter has over 15 starts. Some of them has been contributing for the last 2 or 3 seasons. Their center had been a rotational guy, and he has over 34 games played. He has about 13 starting, but over 34 games played. So they have a nice nucleus on the offensive line. Miami's defensive line and their offensive line, I think, would be a nice battle back and forth because they can go. We're pretty deep. We're pretty solid on the defensive line. Their running back is one of the best running backs. He doesn't need a big hole. He just needs a crease and he hits the hole fast. Our linebackers have been kind of hit or miss. We've getting a lot more snaps and now a starter. To true freshman out of Miami Central in West Plaisant. He's the starter next to our 2 year starter in Corey Flagg, who's been holding it down. He, again, isn't the best in coverage, but he leads the team in tackles for a reason. The young man look and locates the football and scrapes over solidly. Him next to a speedster and a quick guy like West Plaisant really helps him in his progression at the linebacker position. So I would love to see those two go back and forth as far as linebackers against the running back and how we can keep him in the triangle and trace him to the football. And hopefully, whoever is playing next to our nose guard, Daryl Jackson, as the three technique doesn't try to backdoor plays and kind of stay in their gap because they run more of a gap scheme when they run a football. What that means is that they step as a unit. So it's more of like instead of it being pulling around and trap game, they all step right and they all take a gap as opposed to taking on a man and man blocking. Okay. And the tough part about coaching against that or playing against that as a defensive lineman is there's times where you want to just, push, pull, or swim over that guy to go make a TFL. The issue is when they're all stepping together, Mark, you don't get a chance to just defeat one guy. Because guess what? When you club that one guy, the next guy is stepping in his gap. So you have to make sure that you maintain your gap, you maintain your line of scrimmage, and allow your linebackers to scrape over. And hopefully your secondary can come help you with Cam Kitchens and James Williams in the run game. So that's kind of a breakdown of what they're doing in the front. Exterior wise, as far as wide receivers against our Miami Hurricanes cornerbacks, they don't really pass the ball deep that much. They're more intermediate. They love over the middle of the field, whether it's deep end, slants, or curls sometimes as far as throwing it out. The quarterback is a little iffy, but he knows not to lose the football game. Okay, he does his job. He does check downs if need be. They do like to go to screens on third downs, and they love tight end seams on third downs. So that's something I'm hoping we can get going well with good communication between our linebackers and our safeties. Flip it to the Miami offense against the Pitt Panther defense. Pitt Panther defensive line, historically, over the last 10 to 12 years since Pat Narduzzi has been there, has been one of the best defensive lines. They produce NFL guys year in and year out. Maybe not first rounders, but they push in a bunch of second and third day guys with third rounders, fourth rounders getting into the NFL and contributing. They're long, they're fast, they're agile. That is not a good thing for the Miami Hurricanes offensive line that has not been playing very well at all. Miami needs the run game to play off of the run game. And I think that the Pitt Panther defensive line can take over this game and embarrass the Miami Hurricanes offensive line if we don't get our things together and help them, whether it's bringing in and keeping tight ends in for pass protection, keeping running backs in the backfield, and really helping hold those guys off. So that's kind of what will happen against O-line, D-line for Miami. Running back wise and mobile QB wise against Pitt Panther linebackers, they're very overly aggressive. So what their philosophy is on the defensive line and in that box is they stop the run on the way to the quarterback. What that means is they fly off that line of scrimmage regardless. They don't care if you're trapping them, if you're pulling them, if you're reading them. They shoot up the football field. They like to get in the backfield, create chaos, TFLs, and sacks. The tough part is, as an RPO offense, that's really hard to stop because they don't care that you're reading him. He's coming to hit your quarterback in the mouth, whether he has the ball or not. Because that defensive lineman understands the linebacker's job is the running back. My job is the quarterback. I'm hitting you in the mouth whether you have that football or not. And the refs are going to let me do it because you're a read option. So that means you're a part of the play. You're not a passer. Miami passing the football has been really iffy. The issue is the Pitt Panthers secondary is their weakness. They go pure man on the outside and they say, hey, if you're going to beat us throwing that football, that means your offensive line was able to hold us off from getting to you. And we're able to make plays against our so-so secondary. That's why Tyler Van Dyke was able to have a good game against them last year in 21 and in 2020 because we were able to attack their secondary with big plays. I don't necessarily know if Miami can do that this year because our philosophy isn't the same on offense.
There was a comment/question in the chat concerning the coaching staff, and obviously we had several conversations during the offseason about the coaching staff. It looks impressive on paper, a lot of accomplished guys like Charlie Strong and Kevin Steele. Do you in any way anticipate there being any changes, or do you think, regardless of the disappointment of the 2022 season, that it's Mario's staff? This is the guys that he put his faith and trust in, and he needs to see it through.
I'm actually going to go with the former. I believe that there will be some change up. I don't necessarily know if it'll be the biggest change up. There have been conversation about promoting from within on the offensive side of the ball, and quarterbacks coach Frank Ponce. Now, again, this is just rumors out there. He ran a very successful power spread at App State that they're running to this day. At App State, he spent 5 years as their quarterback coach and assistant play caller, and then the last 2 seasons as their play caller, and almost beat Miami last year. And he has a way of playing, and I think the way that he coaches the offense, that power spread, that running the ball, that big, strong offensive line, is what Coach Cristobal would like. Us as fans, we want more of what y'all got going in Columbus, Ohio. If we want a power spread, we want it like that, where it's still 3 or 4 wide, and we still can run that football. We still have tight ends. We still big and burly on the offensive line, but we recruit. We run a certain way, scheme, and route tree and route combo that allows us to recruit great wide receivers too, because we throw the football and we are good at throwing the football. We bring in quarterbacks, and quarterbacks do well here also. So I'm hoping, us as fans, we're hoping that we kind of go in that direction. But when you look at Coach Cristobal and the way that he's been as a head coach, he really goes with, it might be listed as a power spread, but it's still like 80-20 run the pass. And depending on your perspective, that could be fortunate or unfortunate as far as how he's going to run things on offense. I don't think that Coach Kevin Steele will be let go. Now, if Coach Kevin Steele resigns because he just doesn't want to do it anymore, or he's getting too old, that's one thing. There's some people, again, on the staff that I think could step in there. Charlie Strong could step in there. I don't know if Adai has ever called a defense, so I don't know if they would go in that direction. But there's ways about it on both sides. I know that this fan base would not be happy if Miami kept their offensive coordinator in Josh Gaddis. I wish him the best. I think that it just isn't a good fit. Miami, where we are, where we want to be, and Coach Gaddis, who he is and how he calls offense, I just don't think it's a good fit right now. And I think that he can go somewhere, maybe to an Iowa, to a Minnesota, maybe somewhere where they have that well-established offensive line already. Wisconsin, they have that well-established run game, and they don't mind you running the ball 80-20, and they're fine with that. I think he would fit very, very well at those kind of institutions and those kind of thought processes. At Miami, I just don't think that fits trying to replicate Georgia or replicate, uh, I guess, Michigan in Miami. I just don't think that those two things go together.
The biggest on-field development, of course, over the last couple of weeks has been the insertion of Jakari Brown as the starting quarterback, with Tyler Van Dyke still ailing and Jake Garcia having his issues turning the ball over. So the first game obviously was a huge success. 13 of 16, 14 of 19, I believe, were the numbers, and obviously no turnovers, 3 touchdown passes. He faced a much better defense this past week against Clemson. But what have you seen out of a quarterback that was expected to hold a clipboard and really, be given some time to develop, and he's thrown into it 10 games into it?
I think he's done a very good job. There were some times against Clemson where, as much as people want to go in on Josh Gaddis, he had some nice route combinations that sprung a Will Mallory wide open that could have been a touchdown or a big game. He sprung an Xavier Restrepo wide open on a deep ball, and we didn't make the throw. And those things do happen. and Clemson made their adjustments, and those two plays are kind of few and far in between as far as an opportunity where Miami had a big play set up and a good play call against that aggressive Clemson defense. I think when it comes to those kinds of young men, you have to appreciate what they do well and not be too hard on them as far as what they mess up on. If they're young, if they're first year, second year guys, I believe you got to be very careful because the psyche, and not talking about him specifically in Ja'Cory Brown, but you just have to be very careful about how you treat those young men and how you come at them because you don't want to break their spirits. You don't want to break in. Some people call it soft, whatever. You just don't want to break them in the way that they think and the way that they can be themselves with too much scrutiny. Now, fans, of course, can say what they want, but as far as coaching wise or player wise, you don't want to get too hard on the young guy because he's the young guy. You don't want to get too down on him. But I think that they've done a good job incorporating what he does well. Again, we talked about this before, Mark. I'm hoping, and I was liking the fact that they allow him to pass the football. Okay, he threw for almost 10,000 yards in high school, also. So it's not just him running the football. Don't treat him like, again, the example I had before of Justin Fields at Georgia and then Justin Fields at Ohio State. Okay, they only brought him in the game to do RPOs and basically run the ball at Georgia. He goes to Ohio State and has some of the best passing and win-loss records in recent school years. So not saying that Ja'Cory Brown is Justin Fields. I'm just saying in the way that you allow young men to be themselves. Hopefully talk with him and see what are some of the things that you like. Do you like some calls? Is there something that you saw in the playbook or on film? Have them feel incorporated in the game plan as we sit down and we prepare. And when rubber meets the world, you're hoping that the coaches lean into that, lean into what the young man does well, not just try to handicap him and say, oh, he's a freshman. So he just does what we say do, because eventually he has to go out there, feel the flow of the game, and make plays himself. And we've seen glimpses of that. He had a 40-yard run against Clemson, this previous Saturday. He also had some really nice throws against Georgia Tech, where we schemed up some nice route combinations, some late tight ends flooding out to the flats and no one's there. Some high-low concepts where one tight end went to the flats, the other one did a post corner, and we hit them in stride. So, yeah, I think that they're trying, and I know for a fact that some of these players and Coach Cristobal know the importance of the bowl game and want to get there. And those that don't, hopefully we get them out the program and they can find new homes.
Lauren Kane, always appreciate you being here. Don't necessarily appreciate your comment when it involves the Buckeyes, but hey, thank you for the super chat. You can pick on the Buckeyes if you throw up a super chat. Sure, we're always going to read the super chats. Fingers crossed that Mark's Buckeyes lose Saturday. All right,
Oh,
keep
wow.
those fingers crossed. Keep them
Sheesh.
crossed.
Mark, man, listen. Especially with that young man out, Corum, and he's not out. I don't want to lie to y'all.
Yeah.
He's not 100%. But I think that we are in for one heck of a game. And as much as I, have my personal dislikes for the Ohio State, but they have a good football program. And again, I will say this year in and year out. I would love to be in their position where people just hate on us because we're good. People hate Miami for a lot of other reasons that happened 30, 40 years ago and hate the fan base because we all want them to be back and be the bad boys. But, that's a 30, 40-year-old adage. At this point, we want to be a 10, 11 win program that's always in competition. And that is what you can call Ohio State. So at this point, I would love for Miami to be that kind of program. And I don't know how far away we are from that realistically, but I would love to be in that kind of conversation where you're a perennial top 7, 8 program year in and year out, spitting first rounders, and for the most part, have some of the best community service and coaching camps and off the field things that happen in Columbus, Ohio that people don't know from the outside.
Back to Gaddis. Can you put a finger on how his offense has been run differently than when Rhett Lashley was here?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
How deep you want me to go?
I want to hear
this. Okay. Here's what I mean. Mark, they've been running shotgun since Air Kelly. Okay. Shotgun has always been a part of it.
Sure.
But as far as I keep saying this, as far as it's not about the number system, it's about the scheme itself and the philosophy behind it. Because you could be a shotgun team that still just runs dive. That still just run that keeps a bunch of heavy set tight ends and running backs on the field. You just do it out of a pistol and a shotgun. Let's look at Red Lash's offense. A lot of Miami Hurricanes fans, because Mark, how many people were complaining a year ago about Red Lashley runs dive, dive, slant? It's a home run hit offense or not. Okay, now we got the same people or more people complaining about Josh Gaddis's offense in a way that it doesn't really have home run ability, and it just seems to be these 16 play drives or try to be that, and you end up going like 4 and out, 3 and out, interception where it just doesn't mesh well. The philosophy and the way that you do it. Let's start out with tempo. Josh Gaddis is one where we don't really go up tempo all that often, and when we do, we kind of look like we don't know what we're doing. We don't know where to line up. Wide receivers are kind of having miscommunication. We got a bunch of false starts. In contrast to Red Lashley. Red Lashley was up tempo about 80% of the time, but he went after the very first down. Meaning once you get that first down, now we're going to go up tempo. Now we have a game plan. I've schemed a couple plays that I want to do back to back to back. If they work, I'm going to my second column on my sheet, and we're going up tempo. And we're going to go all off of one play, one call. For example, a Josh Gaddis offense may have, we're going to go banjo. I'm not banjo. We're going to go big on. So you would say big on our right 6-7-9. Okay, what that means is on the offensive line, we're going to go man on man. So that's the big on call. The I right, meaning that we're going to get in the offset I. I'm not saying he does that, but just for example. And then a 6-7-9 means the three people that are going out there have a 6 route, a 7 route, and a 9 route. And we're going to read it left to right. And that's an example. Now you could have a check with me, but he's in the booth or was in the booth. So you may not have too many check with me's that happen or audibles that happen at the LOS. But they're taking their time. They're walking up. We break at 18 seconds. We get to the line. It's only 10 seconds left. We try to do audible. There's only 3 seconds left. We got Tyler or Ja'Cory, kicking their leg up, trying to get the snap. And the center was trying to, and then we got to delay a game or false start or snap the ball was not paying attention because we're doing a lot of thinking. Okay. A different example in contrast under Red Lashley. We're running Flamingo. And get on the line of scrimmage, and you run a Flamingo. Now, Flamingo would tell everybody what they're doing, but we only spent 2 seconds max pronouncing Flamingo. Okay? Meaning the offensive line knows what they're doing. Or maybe if it's a silent call, he trusts the center to make his own call about what he would like to do. Whether he wants to go big on, whether he wants to go Louis, whether he wants to go right. And then I would also tell the running back what he would do. So you see, that's where you get the center who comes up to the line of scrimmage, who points out who their Mike is. And he might go, Louis, 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 because the Mike linebacker is over on the left-handed side. So we're gonna slide to the left and have the running back come up. He makes sure he turns around and lets the running back know, hey, it's Louis. We're sliding, you're coming up. Okay. And now we've done that in 25 seconds in a hurry up. At most, we have 18 seconds left on the clock when we snap the football. Or if we need to make any more adjustments, we have 18 seconds to do it, not 10 or 7, based on just understanding Flamingo, understanding Lauderdale, understanding Memphis. Or if anything, they look to the sideline and we got signs up that tell them what everyone is doing. We got people in hats and headsets that are doing hand signals and letting guys know what is happening, or it could just be dummy calls. Who knows? But it's the way that it's modernized. It's the philosophy. It's the way that you can get up and attack, and we're going up tempo, which makes it tough on us guys on defense. We can't rotate our big guys out the game. Okay, we can't make too many calls because while I'm trying to turn around and tell my safety that we're doing banjo coverage, which means if I have outside leverage, I'm going to take the outside guy. If you have inside leverage, you're going to take the inside guy, and vice versa. If you're already up to the line of scrimmage and I'm trying to give him the hand signal, and guy goes right past me for a touchdown. Because I went with the outside guy and he went straight inside, and I didn't get a chance to get that call off to my safety. So all those kinds of things really help the offense as far as going up tempo, keeping things very simple. And I don't necessarily see that out of the Josh Gaddis offense. Now, depending on if you want to prepare people for the NFL, the more pro style, the long winded, explaining every single route and having to know your playbook style of offense is it works best and makes the transition to the NFL a lot easier. But you see a bunch of teams that win a bunch of games that do the simpler format because it's about getting the snaps and snapping that ball as fast and as many times as you can and getting to the end zone.
For teams that like to go up tempo, you hear this all the time on broadcasts. They get that initial first down, and then you'll hear the comment made by the analyst that, okay, they're ready to kick it into gear and go up tempo. They got that first down. And from a rhythm standpoint, psychological standpoint, that good feeling of, hey, we're moving the chains. Let's get going. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously you could do that from the very first play.
Correct.
Is there a reason to do that, to at least, if you fail and go 3 and out because you didn't go up tempo, that you at least gave the defense some kind of blow? So when they come
Yes
back
and
on the
no.
field, they're not gassed.
Yes and no. I will explain from my perspective when running up tempo offenses. The biggest thing about that first down is it's a confidence booster. Let's look at it like this: if I go up tempo those three plays and go 3 and out and did nothing, I've kind of showed my hand. I've shown our tempo. I've shown how fast we want to go, and we didn't even move football. So what a lot of coaches like to do is to get up to that line of scrimmage. You even see some people walk to the line of scrimmage to start the games out, and they sit and the entire time everything is being analyzed. There's people up in the box, Mark, who are seeing who is making the communications. Who's the person making the call? Is it the strong side backer? Is it the right backer? Is it the strong safety? Is it the free safety? Who's communicating when we go to certain formations? Okay, when we go 2 by 2 with one back in the backfield, who makes the checks? When we motion certain people, who's making that call? All right, are they rocking and rolling, or are they always maintaining too high safety? Are they playing man regardless because they think that they're hot stuff? All these kinds of, and it's crazy to explain, to people who don't see it. But on those headsets, and you see that coach flipping back and forth on his it's like a remote on his side. He's listening to all these different things be fed into the conversation. You watch, they show the booth, you see one person with a headset, you see 6 or 7 other people doing what, right, Mark? Writing stuff down. Oh, hey, 56, he did something with his hand when we moved our tight end to the other side. Or no, he didn't just do a hand signal. He had to run over and tell them because it's that loud in the stadium. Oh man, when we were on offense and it's super quiet in here, um, they have switched to being able to communicate as opposed to doing hand signals on defense. So now let's switch our tempo up to give them something to think about, so where they can't just try to talk to one another because it's so quiet our offenses on the field. We got to force them to switch to hand signals or vice versa. So all these things are going on, and offensive coaches, they get all this information while they're still trying to call the damn game. Okay, it's not easy, but when you've done it with people who you know and people that you're familiar with, and they're able to really feed you a bunch of information that you can comprehend fast and spit out what you want quick enough, you get to the point where Ryan Day is just flying. You got Tom Herman, who is doing great offense coordinator, Urban Meyer, Chip Kelly, these people who trust all the analytics and all the other stuff upstairs, and all they need to hear is a couple words, and they can put it down and just get back to calling offense. So the up tempo or slow tempo or no tempo at all makes you huddle. Quarterback runs to the sideline, gets the call, runs back. All those different things are based on the philosophies of the offensive coordinator and how he wants to get his quarterback and the message to his quarterback again throughout the rest of the offense.
Wholesome Ones here, breaking it down for us. We love it every Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Please like the video, share the videos out on social media, subscribe. Keep in mind that not everybody knows that we're here every Thursday night with a wholesome one. So you can let them know that. You talk to people that don't know that we're here. You talk to people on social media that are unaware of the voice of college football. So you can be our sounding board. You can be the people that get out there and communicate on social media that we are here. And the wholesome one's got his channel, Wholesome One Holloway, right here on YouTube. So after you saw Pitt on film, how confident are you of Miami's performance and a winning result this Saturday?
Well, Mark, I say maybe a realistic 4.5. There's always a chance that the Georgia Tech Miami shows up. There's always a chance that the Miami that decided to score points shows up. Now, it's a low percentage and it's a low chance, especially when you're playing such an aggressive defensive line, aggressive front seven, and just these furious pass rushers that go after the quarterback and blitz a whole lot. And what they do well, we don't do well as far as blocking, okay, or creating great run lanes or this explosive running game. We don't necessarily have that. Offensively, defensively, I think Miami's defense will keep them in the game mainly because Pitt isn't like the Pitt of the last couple of years where they can score 30, 40 points throwing the football. They score running the ball. But there has been times, a la Tallahassee, a la a little bit of Texas A&M, where counter and power has shown to be a way to move the ball against this Miami 4-2-5 defense that's really predicated on guys just doing their job and staying in their gap and being able to make a play when the play is there to be made. So running the football against Miami has been hit or miss. Passing the ball against Miami has been great um, for opposing teams. So I don't necessarily know if we can get it. Of course, I'm always root hard for my Canes. I want to see them win. I want to see them have their senior class and super senior class go out with the bowl game win, with an ability to go to the bowl game and hopefully win the bowl game. Because next to Texas A&M, you could argue this might have been the biggest underwhelming team in college football based on preseason accolades and preseason review. And then again, not just from Miami fans. NFL people thought that this team would be good based on Tyler and based on the addition of Josh Gaddis and his star-studded staff and blah, blah, blah. So hype means nothing until you go out and get it done.
Yeah, Texas A&M is at the top of that list unanimously. I would say Oklahoma and Miami are fighting for second. That's your list right there in regards to disappointment teams for 2022. We got a Discord. What that means is it's a big chat room, just like the chat room that you're on right now, but you can join us 24/7, 365 at the Voice of College Football. Just go to patreon.com, search MarkRogersTV. You can join the Discord right there, and you can talk. You see One Scoop John. He's in the chat tonight. He's there. You got about 100 others there talking college football. You can talk Canes there all the time. Wholesome One, anything else we need to hit on tonight?
We like to spend the last 10 minutes talking about all the college football. It's a big game this upcoming, a bunch of big games, honestly, in my opinion. And again, I really urge Miami Hurricanes fans to not necessarily pick a second team, but pick someone else you just like to watch. And that way you can see, a different brand of ball, a different philosophy, whether it was Tennessee when they were rolling on offense, whether it's USC, a team that I think is our cousins to the West, whether it's Alabama. I know a bunch of people get upset about that because I liked Alabama growing up because they were a good freaking program. But either way, you get a chance to appreciate the sport and appreciate good quality ball that's being played all over because unfortunately our Canes aren't doing that right now. But you got Tallahassee is playing the Gators, and of course I'm rooting for the Gators 1,000%. You have Ohio State playing Michigan, which I swear that game should just be at night in a dome, so it would be a beautiful game in my opinion. But I understand the importance of weather and Big Ten ball and the culture, and watching these two teams play on a snow field last year. Didn't look good to us from South Florida, but the people there loved every second of it, especially if they were rooting for Michigan. But I think that's going to be a pretty good game. I think Ohio State will win by like 17, but that's just me. You have USC and Notre Dame, a game that people didn't think would be all that a couple weeks ago to a month ago, but now Notre Dame has resurged and shown some fight, and that game will be closer than most people think. Why? Because Notre Dame runs the football and they kind of own the time possession. SC is not necessarily that kind of team, but they can score in 3 plays. They can go 80 yards in 3 plays. So it'll be really good to sit down and watch that game also. So there's a couple great games that are out there, and I'm hoping people take some time to sit and appreciate the different forms of college football and offenses, defenses, different recruiting grounds, and seeing some really good ball played across the country over the next 2 days, Friday and Saturday.
Folks, we shall be back next Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time to wrap up the regular season and hopefully talk about a bowl game. And at that point, we won't know the bowl game because the conference championship games have to be played, and then the bowl selections go out the next Sunday. But Miami, sitting at 5-6, of course, needs to win. Game at Hard Rock, ACC Network at night against Pitt, who comes in at 7-4. All right, Wholesome One. What do you have on at your channel that people need to be locked in on?
Well, this upcoming Monday, of course, we have our Mario Mondays, our 8 p.m. Kickoff live, more like 8:10 or 8:15, because I do a 10-minute timer to let people collect in there and hit that like button while they're in there. While I get things together and prepare for, a 2-3 hour show. We're live, call in. I have different guests that are coming on this week. I have Miami Flo, who's one of the big recruiting analysis and well respected in the recruiting department down there in Miami-Dade County, who has been looking out and been a big fan of the Miami Hurricanes and has run a great channel called Miami Flo. So make sure y'all go subscribe to him and show him some love over there. I will have him on Monday with me. On Wednesday, of course, we have H1H College Football Episode 6, where we'll go over rivalry weekend and what happened this past weekend and whether Miami made a bowl and blah, blah, blah. We'll go over that. Depending on if Miami wins on Saturday and gets a chance to go to a bowl and have another game, we will start our best plays of the season, our worst plays of the season, our highlight tapes for leaving seniors and returning players, and we will also go over offensive coordinators that the H1H would love to see at Miami, resumes and things of that nature, and what they can bring to the table, some film breakdowns of what they have done at previous stops and how they would fit well at Miami. So those are what I have planned over the next week or so, week to 2 weeks. And of course, Thursday nights, could not miss it. We missed it too many weeks in a row. And I have the beautiful opportunity to have this spot next to my guy, Mark Rogers, talking about the team I love in the Miami Hurricanes. It's a blessing. I'm thankful to you, my brother, for it. And I'm very excited for the opportunity as every single week to be here and to talk about the Canes.
Wholesome One, we are thankful for your expertise. We're thankful for your energy, your support, your loyalty here, your faithfulness, everything that you deliver, your integrity, your values. We appreciate you so much. Glad that we found you. Glad that you're here. Glad that we've been able to hang on to you and deliver this each and every week.
Heck yeah, man. The only thing I ask of you, Mark, I need the voice of college football, all America, first team and second team, Mark. We gotta have it this year.
Okay. Should I do that after the entire season, or should I just do it after the regular season before the bowl games?
I think after the whole season, because there may be some times where you could give out Mark Rogers TV's the voice of college football best offensive line, just like they got the Joe Moore Award, the best defensive line. I mean, you could even go into, instead of the Lombardi, you got the college football voice of college football, Mark Rogers TV, best defensive lineman of the year. I mean, such great ideas for you. I know that you're a hardworking man and a family man oriented. You make time for both. That's something I'm very, very respected from you, and I love and appreciate you. And I just want to see you do it and knock it out the park because I know you can.
Well, I appreciate that. I will tell you that following the regular season, we will send out our conference players of the year. So we will have a Voice of College Football ACC Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and we'll go through all the conferences and send those out. And we've gotten a pretty good response from, because we'll tag the player on Twitter, and a number of times they respond, and they appreciate it, and
Heck yeah.
that generates some talk.
I mean, especially if we did it with guys like us and guys and girls like us who cover the teams. We could even do unsung hero, walk on of the year, things of that nature, and give some of those guys a great opportunity. It could be a special teamer from Virginia or Virginia Tech that no one's talked about, but because he plays in our conference, we all know you got to watch out for 47 from Virginia Tech or something like that. I think that would be cool also.
That is a great idea for sure.
Heck yeah.
You know what? Somebody gave me this idea. I can't take credit for this. Somebody gave me this idea, and then we'll wrap it up. Is that you see where all the heavy hitting recruits will announce on National Signing Day, let's say on ESPN, and then some will announce on, let's say, CBS Sportsnet or 247 Sports, that I should make that offer here to have recruits announce here at the Voice of College Football.
Heck yeah, that would be great. I mean, you've always done a good job of bringing people on. I remember when Francis Marigoa and I was at work and I hopped in the truck or went to like a meeting room and just talked for 5-10 minutes about Francis Marigoa picking Miami. And then like 10 minutes before we go live, Cormani picked Miami out of Lakeland, and we were able to go live on that day too, and got 300-400 people. I mean, a barely 500 team gets the number 2 player in the country at the time. We had 400 people in here, basically reviewing how we looking and watching and review us how we feel about that game and that pickup. So, yeah, man, that's a great idea also.
All right. Wholesome one. Safe travels, and
of course.
Get home safely, and we will talk to you soon, sir.
Heck yeah, I'll be driving slow on these icy roads, man. Got to be careful up here in the northern Midwest. So, y'all know it's all about that. God bless, and enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving.